You ready?
I gotta count to 20.
Seven seconds. Yeah.
On Mississippi's were too fast.
Yeah, rock and roll.
All right. Hello. Good morning. Thank you guys for letting us come and talk to you today. I really appreciate it. I am Sean Blum. I am our senior project manager for Sundt and in charge of the Inspirata Pointe project that we're all very excited to come talk to you about. So, introduce my counterpart. I think you know already. Most of you do.
Hi, folks. I'm Todd Ganter. I'm the senior project superintendent for Sundt. Kind of take care of everything that's inside the fence over there and some things that spill out into the rest of campus.
Perfect. As I said, we're super excited to come and talk to you guys today and answer any questions you have. We have a little bit of a presentation. We're going to walk you through some things and some pictures and videos and things like that. And then anything you guys want to ask, we're here to answer. So with that, we'll get going. So Inspirata Pointe, this is obviously what the campus will look like when we're done. It's not what it looks like right now. Getting there. This is what it looks like right now. So we've been out here doing some early work since October-ish, September, October, and really starting to go vertical with the building, the parking garage and whatnot since about late December. So making quite a bit of headway, as some of you I'm sure have noticed, or maybe all of you, and we're really excited about it. So for today, what we thought we'd do is a safety share. For those that don't know, Sundt starts every single meeting we do with a safety share. Why? The reason being is there's nothing more important than our people going home safe every day, right? None of this matters if we hurt people. So we try to keep it at the front of mind and always start every meeting with a little bit of a discussion on something safety related. And we've been doing that for, I don't know, what do you think? Probably the last 10 years or so.
Pretty much.
At least. And it really, like I said, just keeps it at the forefront of everybody's thoughts. So, and then we'll go into a project overview, update of where we're at now, some current photos, and then any upcoming work over the next month. These are meant to be monthly, so when the upcoming work comes, we'll focus on just over the next few weeks what's happening. And then any Q&A that we have. So for the safety share, I'll let Todd speak to that a little bit. We had something called Safety Week recently, so I want him to give you guys an overview of that.
So Safety Week happens to be the first week of May every year, and it's kind of a conglomeration of roundtable contractors that came together and said, let's focus on nothing but safety, the start of every shift, or at some point in time throughout the day for all of our job sites nationwide. So us for Sundt, every one of our job sites has a different type of presentation that happens every day of the week. And what we ended up, this was our agenda this week, we talked about electrical safety because we're starting to bring utilities into the site, bringing overhead electric in. And then we talked about mental health awareness because it's, after the year we just went through, right? This is probably some trying times for people. So we want to be cognizant of that. Wednesday, we talked about post-tension concrete safety, so the post-tension concrete slabs that are in these buildings. We talked about the safety and the hazards that can be around those types of construction elements. Thursday, we talked about fire safety, which was really cool because we got a hold of Jim Fox, the Sun City fire marshal. He came out and we lit some stuff on fire, and you'll get a chance to see that here in a little video. And then Friday, we talked about something that's always near and dear to our heart on Safety Week is fall protection, making sure that people don't get in a position where they fall off a building or off of a scaffold or anything like that. So that's kind of what we focused on. We had guest speakers for various topics. We had actually one of them, the electrician for our job site, came out and talked about electrical hazards and stuff like that. So that's kind of what we do every May, but that doesn't mean we just focus on safety just that one week in May. We focus on safety all the time, but this is a more concentrated thing. And then we had a barbecue for all the folks on Friday as kind of like a wrap up and a thank you for following through and putting so many man hours of work in place safely. So Sean's got a little video here. We decided to take a couple pallets and light them on fire. So we did a controlled burn because we're building a wood structure, right? You know, most of the other buildings around campus are not wood, and since this one is, we thought it would be pretty important for us to make sure that our people knew if in the event something was to catch on fire, what the perspective, the proper method to putting out a fire is, and it's called the pass method. So it's pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. That's what you should be doing at the fire extinguisher. So a little safety training for everybody today, just a refresher course, and you want to roll that video?
Yeah. Before we do, I just have one question. I'm kind of curious from the group. How many people in here know what post-tension is when we say post-tension safety? All right, so just so you know what we're talking about there, the slabs at a lot of new buildings, including the new buildings at Inspirata Pointe, have cables in them that are tensioned after we place the concrete. So hence the term post-tension. And so there's some safety considerations with that and whatnot. And a lot of people don't know what that is, but it helps keep the slab as flat and as level as possible after you tension it. So just a little tidbit there. So as Todd said, we got a video of our guys attempting to use the pass method, which I'll show you now.
So here we go. We had a couple pallets lit on fire, and then we had some fire extinguishers. The fire marshal brought over, and they gave us the opportunity to actually go up and attempt to put out a fire, which these guys did finally on the second attempt. The first attempt was an epic failure, but they got the opportunity to learn how to correct their ways.
The first video that I almost brought was the first group of guys running in and yelling "ah" and spraying it as fast as possible. That wasn't as good a method, but yeah, it was a great opportunity. We had a lot of people. How many fires did we set? Probably at least 6 or 7.
Correct.
And a lot of people had to use a fire extinguisher, and a lot of people had not ever used a fire extinguisher before. So it was really, really good.
Interesting tidbit, though, it was really incredibly funny to watch firemen light a fire because their job is to put it out. So it took us an extra 15 minutes to get the fire lit because these guys don't know how to do that stuff. They just put them out.
It's true. All right. Thank you, Todd. Any questions on safety while we're on that topic? No? All right. So we'll get into a project overview and sort of update of where we're at right now. We've done approximately 54,000 man hours to date. We've got about, I'm sure you guys have seen the big giant dirt pile that is next to the road. So that's about 20,000 cubic yards of dirt that we're storing there that will become the backfill around our parking garage that we're building. So a lot of that dirt's going to start going away here pretty soon, which
2 weeks.
Yeah, Todd will talk about it a little bit. And then we've placed over 7,000 cubic yards of concrete to date. So what's that mean in some more sort of cool guy fun facts? At the villas alone, the concrete that we've placed could fill up 15 swimming pools. Thank you. If we've been placing with a concrete pump. You guys have probably seen them out there. If we took the length of all of our concrete pumps used to date, it would be actually taller than the Chase building downtown. So it's over 400 linear feet of pump that we've used. And if you took all the 2x4s just that we've used for the concrete work, not necessarily the framing that has now started, and we placed them end to end, it would be over 7 miles long. So quite a bit of materials going on out there, and really, really some exciting stuff happening. So with that, Todd, you want to walk them through sort of overall where we're at?
Sure, you guys are probably not new to this image here. It is of the entire campus, but what we're going to focus on is the westerly portion, Inspirata Pointe. And we kind of know them as like 3 phases. You can call them volume 1, 2, 3, phase 1, 2, 3, whatever. Those are the turnover dates that we have. Right now we're tracking for the 18th of February for the villas. Those are the two-story buildings that are up against Royal Oak Road. And then in the center of the campus, which is phase 2, those are the 3-story buildings, and then the amenities building, which has the everybody's favorite place, the restaurant and bar, right? And then the parking garage. That all turns over the 18th of November next year. And then phase 3, which is the 4-story living structure, that's going to be turning over on the 22nd of March 2023. So right now, obviously, our main focus is the garage because we have to backfill that, perform all the backfill that Sean was talking about. That'll be coming up here in the near future, but we're focusing on building the villas because those are the things that turn over first. So we're up through first floor on building A1 villa, which is the building to the furthest northwest or the left-hand side of the image. And by next Monday, we'll pour the slab for the A2 villa, and then we'll start framing by next Thursday on the next one. So other things you'll start seeing progressing over the next couple weeks is we've got a couple of masonry shafts in the 4-story. One of them's a stair tower and the other one's an elevator. We're doing the foundation work for that this week, and next week the mason will be out here and start bringing those structures up out of the ground as well. So that's kind of the overall of, so if you ever hear me reference phase 1, phase 2, or volume 3, whatever, that's kind of where how things are turning over for us, and that's sort of those are our milestones that we're hitting right now. So. Perfect.
Yeah, and we got some pictures coming up to show you some of that too. Here's our, we take a drone video every month. So right about the same time every month, so we can see progress. So I really thought you guys would enjoy that. So let me play that for you here. I have no music in the background, so Todd may sing to help you out.
May is hopeful. So can you pause? You can pause this at any minute, can't you?
We'll see.
We didn't test that one yet. All right, perfect. I think this is a pretty good vantage point for us to talk about. So the differences of what this image looks like here versus what it looks like today is we've got this section of the garage concrete placed. We woke everybody up this morning with this section placing, which is our 5th deck pour. Each one of these deck pours is between 550 to 620 cubic yards, so anywhere between 55 and 62 ready-mix trucks of concrete come in that we wake you guys up with. We're really sorry, but thank you for being patient with us. It'll be over soon, I promise. You've got the villas here, so this is A1. You got the masonry shaft here, so you've got the elevator shaft, electric room, trash room, and then the villas are starting to get built. Now we've already got decking on the 2nd floor, and we'll start raising 2nd floor walls maybe later today, definitely not tomorrow. And then this slab on grade for A2 places Monday morning. And then we'll start waterproofing the outside walls of the parking garage starting Monday as well. And then a week from Monday on the 14th, we'll start doing the massive backfill around the perimeter of the parking garage. So you'll start seeing some of that dirt pile get chewed up a little bit and put back in place.
Todd, one of the things I think is super interesting about this design is that after we waterproof and get done with the garage, it gets covered with 3 feet of dirt, and then we build on top of it. All right? So yeah, really, really cool.
So there's 2 different waterproofing. The question was, for the didn't hear, how do you waterproof it? So the walls get a spray applied waterproofing. So guys will come out, will look like a pressure washer. They'll spray it on and roll it, and then they'll put a protection board over it. It's and then the top side will be a rubberized, almost like a hot roofing tar type situation. It's a thicker mill thickness on the top that gets applied in a hot format. So it's we'll have we call it a kettle. It'll sit up on top of the garage slab, and it'll be fed by propane. It'll heat the liquid up to, shoot from the hip, somewhere between 275 and 400 degrees, somewhere in that neck of the woods, depending upon the consistency of the product. And then we'll pour that out, mop it on, and we'll measure our mill thickness as we go across. So.
Yeah, and then after that's on there, then we'll place a 2-inch thick topping of concrete over the top.
Yeah, that's a protection, so that when we go through, and we've got water features that we have to add, so if we're going through and digging and by chance somebody does a little whoops with a lever and they go down too much with the bucket, that we hit a concrete layer there first before we damage the waterproofing assembly. So it's a belt and suspenders approach. Yes, sir?
Will there be a storm line pipe all the way around the outside of the...
Excellent. Yes, there will be. So for those that come from wetter parts of the country, the drain tile is what we called it when I lived up in Minnesota. So there is a perimeter drain that goes around the outside, so that all collects. It runs around the garage, and it all collects in this southwesterly portion, and then there's a little lift station, so it'll pump up and get it out to the storm tank system that we'll show you guys here in just a little bit. Yes, sir.
Where do you enter that garage?
Oh,
Oh, okay.
gotcha. So the question is where do you enter the garage? Right over here, which would be the south cul-de-sac, or from the east, that'd be the entrance and exit to the garage. Is a double wide ramp for inbound and outbound traffic.
How many cars does it facilitate?
Is it 140, and then there's
40, and then there's 40, 41?
golf carts. Yep. I was gonna say 170, but that's kind of about the combined, so it's like 140 cars and 40 golf carts. So, excellent.
Good question.
Yes, sir.
What's the water detention system? How much you have to clean on site additional to this, would you please explain the
Sure.
water detention requirements
Well, I
created by the new building here?
absolutely, Don. I'll be glad to answer that question here in a little bit. We'll show you a picture that'll probably make a little bit more sense, because I'm more of a visual person, and hopefully we can show you what's going on. But I can't give you all the calcs, but I can give you the premise behind it, how it works. So we'll get to that in just a second. Thank you. All right. So we'll continue on with the video. Sorry for interrupting that.
No, great questions, please.
Yeah.
Keep them coming.
We love them. Makes you feel like you're right there, doesn't it? So those are some elevator shafts that we have there. And then you can see where the concrete truck is. It just came down the ramp. Our ramp is far more straight than that. It's just currently in an offset position so we can do our construction. And then it'll end up tying into the south cul-de-sac there. So, nice close-up of the crane.
One thing that may be cool only to me, but if you see all these little squares in the deck, that's actually capital heads on top of the columns. So you got columns holding up the deck, and at the top of them, you'll see you have basically squares of concrete to help spread the load out and keep that deck solid.
What's the area next to the ramp that looks like a basement area, and then it's got that where they've been pouring concrete, like little rooms there on the far east end?
Right there.
Yeah, so that is under the restaurant building. So there is also some food storage, and there's some back-of-house storage for Royal Oaks, and there's some, I think, resident storage.
Resident storage, yeah.
There's going to be going in potentially lockers in those areas. So it's mostly storage space because it's directly underneath the building. So,
Todd, do you want to mention too that it was very intentional that we keep the services underground?
Oh, yeah.
That was our way of keeping. That was our way of keeping food service deliveries for food, because food is only going to be delivered to the main kitchen. You're not going to see delivery trucks ever going over to Inspirata Pointe. And so our staff will be golf carting, housekeeping amenity, housekeeping materials, food service supplies, everything down through the ramp, and then it will come up the elevator directly into the culinary building, and we'll keep that off of the main streets.
nice, thank you.
One of the things that I think was really cool technology-wise is this is actually what the slabs for the first Villas building, this is what it looked like the night before we placed the concrete. So you can see the yellow is all vapor barriers, what they call it, and then we've got all the post-tension cables, which are a lot of the lines that you see. And then what I think is cool is the floor plans for the villas are superimposed on top of that. So luckily we built it in the right place. So, and yeah, you can really see that this yellow box is going to be a bathroom with 2 sinks, or this is and pretty neat. But this gives us the ability to make sure and capture forever really what happens underneath the concrete before we placed it.
Do the villas have their own garages
They do. Do the villas?
on ground level?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, the villas do have their own garages. You can see roughly here in the outline. If we took a picture today, you'd see it's all gray. Actually, it's got brown on it. We started building the garages already, but there's a set of garages for each one of the villas there. So there's a on-grade parking there at the villas. All right.
All right. There's your storm tank.
There we go. Thanks for waiting. Appreciate it. So in the very southwest portion of campus, there is a 204-foot long by 8-foot diameter storm tank. Happens to be this. So some unique technologies that we're playing with out here is we took the design of the documents from the civil engineer. We went ahead and put it into a computer-aided drafting program, and that computer program went ahead and talked to the excavator, and it allowed the excavator operator to go in and dig with precision this excavation. So it's got geotech fabric in there now, but it's almost laser cut to perfection. This program doesn't allow the excavator operator to dig outside his boundaries. So what that does is it makes sure that we always have safe conditions, right? Because the slope of the excavation is figured in for safety. It talks about production, so they're not digging more dirt than they have to. And then it talks about just quantities that a subcontractor has to do, right? So they wanted to make sure that they're staying on track with the amount of work they've got to perform. So that's what's really neat about this job is we actually got the opportunity to play with some of that digital stuff. So we kind of took the computer geeky stuff and got it into construction, and we kind of blended those two worlds together, and we're able to come up with this kind of stuff. So this 8-foot diameter storm tank is basically a retention tank. So what happens for Inspirata Pointe is either surface drainage, which is sidewalks and driveways and things of that sort, along with roof systems. They all drain to storm drains, and the storm drain collection heads to the southwest portion of the campus. This is designed to be based for volume for a 100-year event. It'll fill up with rain, but there's outlets that go to dry wells. So as the water comes rushing in from the storm, it fills this tank up, but there's outlets that go to these dry wells. These dry wells are basically a system that is drilled into the ground, filled with a leach rock, and it becomes a way for the water to get back down in the aquifer. And these types of containers are what allow the maximum density of job site or space utilization on campus to allow for what the requirements of a 100-year event are. So we're able to capture and retain that water for just a little while before it gets put back into the ground, as opposed to relying on larger surface retention areas that just are basically work on gravity. These things work on gravity, but more of a forced gravity type manner.
How many dry wells total do we have?
We have 4 dry wells. All the dry wells are done. They're in the northwest, northeast, and 2 along at each end of this run for this campus. They're all done and complete. We did that back in January and February. So right now, if you were to drive by, next month you'll see the drone images that this thing's all covered and buried and behind us. So, but I promise you, it's in there.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah. Excellent. So this is another view looking from the east to the west. Obviously, you can see the hospital in the background there. And this is that area we were talking about that has the food storage and the ability to do all the receiving and send things right up to the culinary building.
What is the wall on the right that looks like it's fallen over?
That's a formwork.
What?
It's just formwork. So this component right here, yeah, it's just formwork. We didn't want to set it up on the top side of the hole because it took up valuable real estate for us. So the crane just laid it down on that side. So when we bring the crane over there, we just hook onto it and pick it up, and this way it was out of our way and allow us to do work and give us more flat real estate. I mean, by the time you've seen from the drone images, we've taken a lot of real estate out of the center of the campus that will slowly start adding back when we backfill. But
Well, one of the things, I'll speak to that a little bit, you can see all this rebar, and you can kind of see an X here. So the rebar is all braced so that we can actually stand that up and get the rebar all placed and standing without any of that formwork. So we can then come in with a crane and basically just, like a sandwich, go like this after it's inspected and place it. So it's, it works out pretty slick.
all right, now we're getting down into the garage level, so you can see on this right-hand picture, we've got the columns poured with the column bar turning out. That turns out inside the actual deck of the concrete. And then this is a view from the south looking north. So restaurant will be sitting above this portion. The ramp comes in through here, and right above this area is the last portion that we just placed this morning. So,
And these bars up here, this is what I was talking about with a square capital head. There's a square of concrete that ties in, that those bars all tie into, that ties into the deck. So all the whole system is all tied together like one big concrete frame. I think that's cool anyway.
awesome. So you can see in this picture, we had every bit of 2/3 of the garage slab on grade, so where your vehicle would sit. That's poured out now. We're actually better than that. We're a little bit further. At the time this picture was taken, we're right up into this area for the slab on grade being complete. So we only have one more pour on the 14th for the slab on grade. And then all the slab on grade for the garage itself is done. We still have the ramp to work our way out of, but the main bulk of the garage structure will be done by then as far as the slab. All right, so here's some more down and dirty photos of what a concrete deck looks like. So we've taken Gretchen out a few times so you can see. This image is this is about day 2 of us being able to put tying all our reinforcing steel is. So there's a bottom rebar mat that has bars going in both directions, and then there's a top rebar mat. This picture happens to be taken with just the bottom mat in. And we wanted to show this to you because there's some things that most people don't see. So we went ahead and we start putting electrical in there. So that's going to be electrical for lighting, fire alarm, sometimes general receptacles that runs in that concrete, that we time it just right between when the bottom layer of reinforcing is complete and before we start putting the top layer of reinforcing in there. We let the electricians get in there and do their work so they're not having to fish through and do it more painstakingly slow. So we give them an opportunity between both layers of reinforcing that they get in there and install their conduits and pathways. And then on the left-hand picture, you can see we've got those are all rebar guys in there putting the top reinforcing mat in that location. So
for sake of scale, these decks are about 16 inches thick. Once you have the concrete, the bar, all the electrical, all of that, they're about 16 inches.
all right. So we showed you a picture a little while ago of the villas there where we had the overlay of the floor plan. And all the lines, you can see the hatching in there, the post-tension cables that Sean was talking about are all these that run at 2 foot on center each direction. So the picture on the left is somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 o'clock in the morning, and the picture on the right is somewhere in the neighborhood of about noon that same day. So we went ahead and placed the concrete there and got it all finished off. You can see that all these little lines sticking out here, so that's all your plumbing lines, and then these are the patios that are on the outside, and then the garages are over this direction. We haven't, at this time of this picture, we hadn't placed those yet. So.
Question.
Yes?
Did you wait for the microphone?
Gotta wait for the microphone.
Might be able to hear me without. You said that each one of the villas has a parking garage, the ones up above and the one below. Is that correct?
So the 2-story villas, each
Yeah.
villa has 4 units on the bottom and 4 units on top.
Yes.
There are 4 garages that are bisected, so there's 8 garages for each of the villas.
So it'll be 16 total.
Yep.
Okay. I thought that was a good trick if you could do it, but it is.
I wish, that'd be great if we had that.
Any other? All right, keep moving.
All right, so it's amazing how things change in like a week and a half, but
Yeah, that slab we just placed on
yeah,
the right.
this one now has this on it.
Yeah.
And now has this on it. It's all covered up with plywood now because we're ready to start the second floor deck, but this is the images we got from the drones. We had some structural steel reinforcing that pick up the loads of the patio, and then obviously you can see we've started building these individual units. When we do the concrete placement, both of these slabs pour at the same date, but we have a little piece in here called the closure strip. We were talking earlier about post-tension cables, those blue cables that string to the deck. We pour concrete and then we tension them to 33,000 PSI. There's physical restraints on how long of a distance you can stretch those cables. And since this building exceeds that, we had to put one of those pour strips in the middle. So that way we tension from both ends. Typically you have a dead leg and you've got a live end, and we pull on the live end, which happens to be, this is the live end here, and this is the live end here, and this is the dead leg in the middle. And then you just need that space. And now, since as of this morning, we've gone through and filled that back in. So somebody that lives in that unit has no idea that they've got a little closure strip right in the middle of their living room. All right. So I decided to take this one today because, as being a construction guy, I thought this was kind of cool. But we had a lot of activity going on this morning. So this is the pump that woke some people up at 11:30 when it came into the site, and this was finished placing the last little bit of our elevated deck number 5. We have another concrete pump in the lower right-hand corner. That concrete pump is placing some walls, the last little bit of parking garage walls before we start coming up the ramp. And then, of course, we had the crane. So when you talk about safety and orchestrating all kinds of things that are happening, this is some of the world we live on a daily basis of making sure all this comes to fruition and keeps moving. So I just think it's kind of a cool picture too.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions on on any of the pictures or existing work or anything before we start talking about what's upcoming?
Go ahead, we'll repeat
Yeah,
the
go
question
ahead.
for you.
Yeah.
How do you feel you are with the schedule? It's pretty much on time?
Absolutely. So the question is how do we feel about our schedule? I update that every week. So I just finished it yesterday at about 3:30 and everything is holding true. So
The other question I have is, where's the sports bar?
it's just inside campus, isn't it? It's already built? No, right there. I can see it already, can't you? It's coming.
So is that right next to the food area?
It is, directly next to the food area, or for just spatialization purposes now, it's on near the south cul-de-sac. So for those that live near the south cul-de-sac, that's, for those that live in that area, that 1031, 1039, 1040, you guys are going to be closest to the bar.
Make friends with those guys.
Yeah. Yep. We'll be making friends with you.
Yeah. Question.
Is the garage door post-tension?
Yeah.
Is the garage floor post-tension as well?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, so the garage floor for the villas, those buildings to the north, the individual two-stall garages, those are post-tension, but for the actual parking garage structure underground is just a regular slab on grade. It isn't. There's no post-tension or reinforcing in it.
I was thinking about the villas for sure. Was that, you were talking about a big one? Okay. My mistake.
Yeah, you're all good. I'm on you, man. That's what we're here for. That's why we do this together. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Sean is the senior PM and I'm the senior superintendent, and we figured that would be the only way that you guys would get any trust out of us, because we're in a senior citizen community, that if we had a senior in our title, you guys would believe us.
That's right. All right. Let's talk about what's upcoming.
Oh, all kinds of fun stuff.
So you can talk about it here, or it might be easier
Yeah, let's do this one.
to
This
talk
one.
about it on
Yeah.
this one.
So
Your sports bar, by the way, is over
yeah,
in
sports
this
bar
area.
is in this location. Yep. So upcoming in the next 3 weeks, by 3 to 4 weeks before you see us next, we will have A2 villas, the slab placed. We will start framing walls. We will have the second floor and roof structure on A1. We may be getting around to a point, I haven't memorized the schedule, but somewhere in the 4, maybe 5 week range is we'll start scaffolding the outside for the stucco work. We will be putting a roof on starting July 2nd. Starting the 7th, we'll waterproof the walls, this wall, then this direction, and on the 14th, we'll start backfilling in this corner and bringing the backfill this way, and then like this, and then here. We have a slab on grade placement June 14th. We have a deck placement June 26th, I think, 27th, somewhere in that neck of the woods. So that'll finish out the last section of the parking garage. We'll continue on the walls here. Let's see here. We will have the foundations complete in, we know it as Building C. I think this is Building D, and part of Building E will be underway in 4 weeks. In 4 weeks, we'll have the masonry tower that's in this location and one more right here. Those will be up to somewhere in the neck of 22 feet high. And then we'll be waterproofing the top of the parking garage structure. So by the time 1 month passes, we should be to this line here. And getting ready, our next scope will be to do this stretch, and then we can start pouring the topping slab and doing the backfill over the top. That happens in about July 7th or so. Let's see, we'll have the water line. The water line is installed down this west side and around to this corner. By the 7th, we will have completed the water line down the south drive, and we'll perform the tie-in at the south cul-de-sac. And we'd be just about getting into sewer work, tying the sewer for the 4-story building in. And
Yeah,
I don't know
I
if
think
there's anything else.
no, I think
That's probably it.
That's it's a great recap. I mean, I think big picture wise, from a sort of site changing, starting to backfill is going to be huge for us, right? Besides the fact that dirt pile is going to get lower, filling that in will really help the rest of the site take shape. We'll start to see the 4-story buildings come out of the ground. You'll start to see, like Todd said, the backfill of the garage and closing that up, and the 2 stories are clicking right along up at the villas. So it'll look quite a bit different in a month, just because the site's starting to get a little bit more buttoned up, and we're getting to be more and more vertical.
Yeah, we may actually even be in a time frame, if it's not the first week of July, it'll be the second, where we start doing all the drilled caissons that go around the perimeter of buildings B and C. So that work will start the beginning, the middle of July as well. So.
I understand the entrance, the main entrance to the whole thing still comes through our front gate. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So from that front gate, what is the route to get to, say, the parking garage?
What's the best way to explain that, Gretchen? Coming in from the front gate and just take the north-south road?
What was
By
the
the
question for the residents watching?
For the residents watching, the question is entrance into the Inspirata Pointe community. What is the main entrance still the main point to enter on? And if it is, how do you get from the main gate into Inspirata Pointe?
So you'll come through the main gate and, you'll come through the main gate and you'll turn west and follow the north road until you get to the first street while you're turn south, and take that to the south cul-de-sac, and you'll follow that west, and you'll which will take you directly down into the ramp into the parking garage.
So
If you do follow the north road, if you stay on the north road, you would be able to access the ground level parking and ground level golf cart parking for those of you who may want to go over and park and enjoy the dining venues over there or visit residents over there.
was I following along?
I think so, yes. And then there is an exit only on the very northwest corner of the property. But it is exit only.
Perfect. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What's the grade of the slope going down into the parking garage?
6%.
6%. Pretty good.
I'll bring a skateboard over if you want to try it sometime.
Can you repeat the question?
The question was what's the grade on the parking garage ramp? It's a 6%. So for every 100 feet, it falls 6 feet. Good question. All right. Did I miss anything that we are doing in the next? You probably want that back, don't you?
Yeah.
Sorry to steal your.
That's all right. That's all right. No, I don't think you missed anything. Any other questions on what's upcoming?
1 second, please. Excuse me.
In case we should be lucky enough to have any water runoff, Is there any plan for saving that water runoff to use for landscaping or whatever, a cistern-type system?
Great question. So for those that didn't hear, the water runoff is a retention. Is there any savings of that water for going back and giving back to the existing plants? The answer is no. It all feeds back to this retention tank that is on this end, and then it goes back into the dry wells. The dry wells, I guess on a good note, they give it back to the aquifer, right? So that way the rest of Arizona has water because it feeds into the, it will go back, yeah, it'll be back used. It'll end up in the aquifer. The aquifer runs down to, you know, the New River bridge here that runs parallel to the 101. So, excellent.
All right, the last thing we wanted to touch on was our mock-up. Some of you have probably seen it over the wall behind where our offices are there. We are doing a full-size mock-up. There's a lot of great reasons for that. One is, for example, this concrete wall enables us to place concrete and then say, okay, do we like this joint or that joint or this finish? There's a lot of ways to test out how things fit, how things will work inside of a typical unit by doing a full-size mock-up.
Right next to the concrete mock-up, right in here,
Yep.
is what these pallets are for. That's going to be part of our masonry mock-up, so part of the masonry walls that we're going to be putting throughout campus, whether they're regular gray block or decorative block, we'll be doing a mock-up there just to see how everything comes together, make sure the architect likes it and gives it his blessing before we go out to mainline production in the field.
Yep. We'll also water test some of the details of the stucco and around the windows and on the roof. And it's a lot better to test those things out here in this small controlled environment as opposed to doing that out in the main building. So we are in process of building that. We are stuck in Maricopa County approval right at the moment. Yeah, so the mock-up needs a separate county approval than the actual buildings, which seems pretty counterintuitive, but there are rules and I guess we follow them. So anyway, so this is an actual screenshot. We're all the way through all these different places and down into the Maricopa County Quality Control section of the review. So we're getting close.
Sean, how long will you keep the mock-up?
We keep the mock-up all the way till the end.
March of 2023.
March, yep. And I think that's all we had as far as slides, but certainly we can answer any and all other questions you might have.
How many subcontractors are on site?
That's a great question. So from a worker standpoint, we're in the neighborhood of 70, 75.
Correct.
Roughly. From a subcontractor standpoint,
8.
well, yeah, right now, but we will have we'll have probably in the 50 range of different companies that come in and out.
What will be your peak of number of workers?
I've been guesstimating somewhere between 165 and 185 at full production.
When will that occur?
That is looking like the fourth quarter of this year and first quarter of next year.
Are you feeling supply issues yet?
You know, it's an interesting question. Obviously, it's been a lot in the news. And so I would say where we're feeling it is having to be a little bit more out in front of ordering materials. So yes, in that something that used to take a month might take 3 months to get. But as far as if we're lacking actually being able to get anything, we have not had that problem yet. But it is, you know, it's something our team is dealing with and watching the news and just like everybody else, right? And trying to make sure we stay way out in front of it so we don't have any issues. You know, my message to our team, I just actually said this yesterday to them. I said, if it has in any way can stop what we're building out there, that's at the top of your list, right? Everything else is secondary. So we make sure that we continue to go.
Darren.
Hi, Todd.
Hi.
Hey, there was a comment mentioned about entry through the main gate. Could you speak a little bit to the emergency access for
Yes.
Inspirata Point?
Yeah, so the emergency access will still hold true. Go back to the other one, actually. That's even more better, as they say in good English. So we have the gate down here by the parking garage. I believe that has a fireman's access gate on it as well. But fireman access gate will be up here. So there'll be like an opticon or a photo sensor that's on that gate with a key override switch for the fire department, any local jurisdiction, whichever is responding, whether it's Sun City or Peoria or Surprise or whatever it may be. They'll be able to come in through the northwest gate or back in through the main gate as well. Good question.
Yeah.
Had a spot where the employees were going to enter from the south side. Is that correct?
For construction employees or for,
Workers.
oh,
Roll-off workers. Is that not right?
I,
Did I hear that right?
No.
So
There's
is
still
no entry.
only the one entrance from the back, from Santa Fe. Only the one entrance that we have now.
excellent.
What else?
And Elmer, part of the reason is that land over there is owned by Banner. That white area, we don't own that land. They're allowing us to use it right now as construction access.
Anything else?
People in the main old building want to go to the new building and visit any of those other, I know there is for the dining, but what about all the other residential areas? Is there parking if we would go to visit them?
So the question was, is there parking for the existing residents to come visit the residents there in Inspirata Point?
So there is some general parking. I haven't memorized the parking plans because I'm not that far into the documents yet, but these all indicate parking spaces here and here, as well as up in this location, and then around the perimeter here. I don't know if they're gonna be designated for residents or if they're gonna be visitor, or maybe, Gretchen, I don't mean to put you on the spot, is it?
There'll be a combination of both.
Okay. So we'll be able to
Great.
take care of both, so you can go over there and party on that side of town. I feel
Yeah,
you.
that's true.
Amen.
That's true.
Awesome. Well, we're here for you guys. If you guys have other questions, if you guys want any kind of topics for us to discuss or hit on for next month, if you did or didn't like things that we talked about or want to know more, feel free to speak up to, us or anybody with Royal Oaks, and we'll make sure that we'll tailor suit this, because this is really what it's for. It's for you guys to know what's going on. So we do this stuff on a daily basis. We have fun with it, but we want to make sure you guys are getting the information you need. Yes, ma'am.
A big thank you for allowing us to look through the fence. You've opened up the little holes, and I can peer down through that now.
Yeah.
Some of you can look over the top without that.
I can, he can't.
Yeah.
But
It's really fun to watch the progress. And when you look at it from the north to the south, cul-de-sacs, it's totally different.
it is a different
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
picture. So good. I'm
So,
glad you enjoyed those.
Thanks for your presentation.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, I was going to say thank you all for letting us come and talk. This is something. It's more than just a job for us. We're really, really proud of what y'all are building out here, right? And we're really proud of having the opportunity to do it. And so anytime we can come and talk about it, or we can answer any questions. I'm speaking for Todd, but I can say for me, it's you can. I hope feel our pride bubbling up in what we're doing, because we're really excited about this project. So.
Yes, ma'am. Great question. So when is the majority of the concrete pours going to be complete? So we're looking like the next 4 weeks will take care of all the stuff for the garage. They'll start slowing down. They run typically every 2-week cycle, or actually every week, because we were doing a slab on grade placement and then a deck placement and then a slab on grade placement and then a deck placement. So we were in a real rhythm for a while, and we're starting to slow down on those. So we've got 2 more concrete pours for the garage early morning. We've got villas, and then we'll start getting away from campus, and we'll start doing more of our noise over on these buildings in the phase 2 and phase 3 stuff. So by the time, to answer your question holistically, by the time we get through end of August, beginning of September, I mean, they're going to really be spaced out more. Instead of them every week or every other week, they're going to start going every 3 to 4 to 5 weeks. But we'll still have some early morning placements.
I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
We live right close to where the garage is, and we hear this horrible thump at 11:30 or 12 o'clock in the morning, all the way through 6 o'clock in the morning. What's that thump?
That
we hear?
thump is called the surge of the pump. So we got that big, huge concrete pump, the big arm that's in the air. Inside the pump, there's a gigantic hydraulic cylinder that forces the concrete up through the pump at 2,800 pounds per square inch pressure to lift it up and get it up there. That shunk, shunk you keep hearing. Unfortunately, I know I think it's music to my ears, but I'm in construction. And I know it's really annoying for you guys, I'm really sorry, but that's the surge of the pump, and that's us actually pushing the concrete up through the boom out to the point of placement. So those things and back to your question, those concrete placements are the really dark early. We'll start slowing up here in the next couple weeks.
So when you get the rebars and the layers of concrete for the plumbing and the wiring, if something needs repairing, how do you have to break up the concrete to get in there?
Yeah.
No fun. Yep. Yeah, it's the great question. Do we have to go back in there and chip things out? Yes, we do. It becomes, I think 110% is very small estimation of how miserable that actually is. It's really not a lot of fun. So we do a lot of preparation and quality work beforehand, making sure that once we have our form boards up, that we go back through and run our string lines to make sure things are lining up within walls, because having to chip something out and move it over is no fun.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too. For that reason of how not fun it is, we have mechanical folks, electricians, plumbers on site whenever we're placing the concrete in the middle of the night. So if they notice something is broken, it gets kicked over, they're right there and they can fix it while the concrete's still wet and still mud. And then after the fact, we actually have equipment over there right now to where if we had to, we can x-ray that slab and see where everything's at, so we can sort of surgically chip the concrete and do as little of that as we possibly can to fix the issue.
While you've got that view up, show us how where would you go to park if you went over to the culinary building?
Oh, great question. So there's parking right in this location. So, yep, this is parking for the culinary building. Culinary building sits in here, and there's a little element there. So parking would be in that location.
Show them kind of where the garage is tied. It's kind of
a
rectangle.
Yeah, the garage. We've been showing you all the aerial footages of what the concrete looks like, but that concrete garage sits roughly underneath all this through here. So it takes up half of this building. Half of these 3 portions of buildings, 4 buildings, sit over the garage. So that's why the garage is so critical. We keep hammering on the garage. Like, we like places to park vehicles, but it's really like the critical path of the job. Without that garage in place, we can't build the rest of the buildings on top.
It's also why we're trying to get all of that concrete and all that garage done as soon as possible, which is why you are seeing placements like once a week, twice a week down there to try to get that garage done.
Yeah, if you ever see it, anybody out there on site after like 2:30 in the afternoon, it's usually our concrete guys that are pushing hard to make our placement dates, because we've got dates that we're locked in with the cement plant for dispatch on trucks, along with all the preparation that's gone into place for the previous 3 to 4 weeks for our concrete finishing crews. So there's a lot of work that's behind the scenes that's constantly happening, but we've got to hit those milestone pour dates, otherwise we lose weeks at a time. So.
Well, and to your question earlier on materials, you hear about lumber, you hear about, metal, whatever. Well, concrete's a material too, right? So if we can schedule out and hit all those dates and make sure that we're placing when we told the placing company we needed the concrete, we generally don't have problems getting the materials. It's when we say, oh, hey, we're not going to be done Tuesday, can we do that Wednesday instead? And they say, no, but a week from then you can, right?
Speaking to the materials, which is why, if you noticed early on, we were doing concrete placements on Thursdays and Fridays, because it would give us all week to get ready. And now we switched our cycle to placing on Mondays and Tuesdays, right? Well, we poured Wednesday morning, right? We didn't want to pour Tuesday morning right after a holiday because too many people have a brown bottle flu. So we, kind of held off a day to make sure we missed it. But we've been pouring earlier in the week because of several things, right? That allows the plants to receive material over the weekend. They receive the Portland cement so they can fill their hoppers and bins back up. So that way the raw goods that make up the concrete additives or the complete structure of concrete itself, they can load up on the weekends. And it also does us another thing is that by the end of the week, concrete truck drivers are out of drive time hours, right? They fall into the same DOT regulations as an over-the-road trucker, and they only have so many hours to work. So if we put our placements off to the end of the week, then our sequencing can get compromised, and our concrete placements get slowed up because we would normally order 120 yards an hour, so 12 trucks every hour, 1 truck every 6 minutes. But if they don't have the drivers for those trucks, then it becomes, then we get knocked down to 80 yards an hour, so we get 1 truck, every 10, 11 minutes, something like that. So there's a lot of math that goes in behind the scenes of why we do a lot of the weird decisions. It's not here to, wake everybody up in the middle of the night. Trust us, we'd like to be sleeping too. Yeah. But we do appreciate your guys' patience. We're almost through it.
Sean, you might mention some of the inspections that we have to go through on the project?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we go through, it's pretty much a daily process with the county inspector, but we also have the structural engineer that comes out and looks at everything we do, right? So in structural elements, the county they don't totally defer, but they kind of defer to the structural engineer. The structural engineer and the civil engineer actually are both inspecting our work, and then the county will come out. They'll look at it. They'll see the structural engineer has been there or the civil engineer has been there, and they'll sign off. So we have inspections. If you think of it, we basically get inspected before we cover anything up. So before we place concrete over a bunch of bar and mechanical and plumbing, all of that stuff has to get inspected. Before we put drywall over a framed wall and over any plumbing or electrical in the wall, that all has to get inspected. Let's see, we do perk tests on the dry wells. We pretty much, again, nothing gets closed up and in its final state unless it's inspected by both the county and typically some sort of special inspector engineer type.
Other entities we have that perform inspections, we have EPCOR that's out doing the water and sanitary sewer. Mm-hmm. We have Sun City Fire Department that is out performing inspections on the water lines, the hydrants, the backflow preventers, the fire lines that come into the buildings. Mm-hmm. We also have Maricopa County Dust Control that comes out and inspects us, that we're not emitting dust off the job site. We have Maricopa County Flood Control that comes out and inspects us for our stormwater pollutant prevention plan. Yep. Mechanical engineer will be out inspecting and performing observations throughout the course of the job. And then, like I said, Sun City Fire Department will be in also doing observations of sprinkler heads and fire mains down through the building, along with the continuous county inspection. So there's lots of people we're calling all the time to make sure they're checking our work.
Well, and then now that we're a little bit on the other side of COVID and that a lot of people have vaccinated, we now have our architects that are coming out every couple of weeks to walk the job and make sure what we're putting in is what their vision was. So lots of eyeballs. We welcome them all, right? Maybe not all of them, but we welcome most of them, right? And yeah, that's a good question. We actually had one of our employees create an inspection request app.
Yeah, so if anybody, you guys have been to any restaurants and they say break out your phone and take a picture of that little dotted up QR code, we've got those QR codes designed so a foreman can go up and take that picture, fill out an inspection request form, and an email comes to us, and we know to go through and call whatever agency we need to make our inspection. So, and then we have And not only do we have the county inspections, but we've got permits for every single phase. So we got permits for phase 1, 2, and 3. And then we have special inspection permits from structural, like Sean mentioned. But then inside the county, we also have different codes for different inspections, whether it's electrical, plumbing, drywall, finished floor slab, all kinds of different elements that we have to go through and abide by.
And they all got to be requested by 2, right? By
Yeah.
2 in the afternoon for the next day. So
Question, you talked about supply issues. Are you having trouble keeping workers or finding workers? This seems to be the thing around in the U.S. right now, finding workers because of COVID.
you know, that's a really good question. So well, not only around the nation, but there's a lot of construction happening in Arizona right now, right? So I will say this, one of the great benefits that we have is that we self-perform our concrete work, and so those are actual Sundt employees. So we have a lot of control over that when it comes to anything that is concrete, which is great. As far as the other trades, we haven't thus far. But again, a lot of that stuff you can really manage with the further out that you plan and the more you do what you said you were going to do. So we've sort of told our companies, every week they submit a weekly work plan to Todd. We've told them, plan your work, do what you said you're going to do. If you do that, we'll schedule sort of based on your plans and everybody will be on the same page. If every day you have a different number of people show up and you don't do what you said you're going to do, then we're going to have some problems. So far we haven't run into that. But yeah, I say there's always a concern there. I think in this market we have, knock on wood, a fair amount of pull because we are a local, and we tend to have a lot of success at getting good craft help.
All right.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys.
Because I was only 17 when I was in South Pacific. I'm 93 now, you gotta be about 47.